Morning, everyone. I often talk about how I wish that Canadian oil would supply Eastern Canada. We are an oil producing country. It makes no sense for us to continue buying foreign oil when we could supply our own. And it looks like Irving heard me and they've got a plan to start doing just that. But the plan it's like all liberal plans or everything Justin Trudeau has a hand in. It's like the headline reads pretty well and then you read into it and you go, "Oh, okay. There's the switch. There's the catch, right? Let's see if you can see it." CBC is reporting on May 1st. Today is May 3rd. Irving Oil targets summer for tanker shipments of Western Canadian crude. Refiner says it has regulatory approval for its plan, which would increase the use of domestic oil. Doesn't that sound great? Here we go. Irving Oil, the operator of the country's largest refinery, is aiming to begin receiving more crude from Western Canada, delivered to New Brunswick in tanker ships starting this summer. Tanker ships? The privately held refiner applied last month to the Canadian Transport Agency, CTA, to use foreign tankers in order to increase the amount of domestic crude it gets from offshore Newfoundland and Western Canada. Irving Oil's application included a proposal for the tankers to transport the oil from a terminal in Burnaby, BC, through the Panama Canal and on to Irving's refinery in St. John's, New Brunswick. Or in St. John, New Brunswick, not St. John's. Sorry, Newfoundland. Back to this. On Friday, a company official confirmed that the application has received regulatory approval and it is now working through the details of the federal process for approving individual vessels. Let's have a quick look at a map, everyone, just to see how far this stuff is going. Okay, I've got a map and everything mapped out on it. So here's the BC coast. I'm not exactly sure where along the BC coast, but let's just say here. And here's the Panama Canal all the way down here. So you've got to go past Mexico, past Guatemala, past Nicaragua, past Costa Rica, and there's the Panama Canal. And then on the way back, you've got to come all the way back to New Brunswick, right? Is it in New Brunswick? I think it's in New Brunswick. And that's all the way past the Dominican Republic, past Puerto Rico, past Cuba, past Florida, and South Carolina and North Carolina. Wouldn't it just make more sense if you could go like cross this way, right? A lot faster, probably a lot cheaper, especially if you had, I don't know, say a pipeline, right? And I don't know what the shipping costs would be, but it seems crazy to pump Alberta oil to BC coast, to ship it around the United States to the refinery on the other side of the country. And all this is because the political will for a pipeline is zero, right? And you could institute a pipeline if you explained it to people, right? I think this makes a pretty good case for a pipeline, right? Aside from the increased safety over rail, right? The increased safety over, I don't know what the shipping safety history is. I know about the Exxon Valdez, but I mean that's a very famous oil spill, and I mean I'm sure there's lots of other oil spills, but what are the numbers on that? Is it safer for a pipeline, or is it safer for rail, or is it safer for shipping on an oil tanker? I think pipelines win, but I'm not sure. I don't have the data to back that up, but that's my gut feeling. So take that with a grain of salt. Moving on, Angus Reid. You think these guys are a pretty reputable group of pollsters, right? Can you poll people on something that is not legally defined about how they feel about it? If something's not legally defined, how do you say that that's what they were talking about, right? Assault style weapon is not a legally defined term in Canada. And so here's Angus Reid polling people on their feelings on an assault style weapon ban. And I'll show you the issues with this. And there's a couple. And the other one here is, how did Angus Reid know what kind of gun was used in the Nova Scotia shooting when the RCMP haven't made that announcement yet? I'll show you that the RCMP haven't made the announcement yet. Not even Bill Blair has said anything about the type of weapon used. He's given, well, you'll see in just a minute, but how did Angus Reid know? Do they know? Do you believe that they know? I don't, but that's up to you. Here's my issues with this. Here's Angus Reid Institute. I think this was released on May 1st. Angus Reid Institute, 4 in 5 Canadians support complete ban on civilian possession of assault-style weapons. Okay. And here's the breakdown. Here's the methodology. Here is the important part. Importantly, the classification of an assault-style weapon is not currently a term with legal definition in Canada. In its recent research, however, the federal government describes this type of weapon as semi-automatic firearms with large magazines of ammunition that were designed and configured for rapid fire. I'll just note here, Canada has a limit, I believe, of 5 rounds in a magazine. So large magazines? Who's defined large? Why can you use large magazines when there's legislation in place to limit the size of magazines to 5 rounds? People were saying kill more than 10 people often, right? As far as I understand it, that's the 5-round limit is for magazines for semi-automatic weapons, right? Like, maybe I'm misunderstanding. I could be, but that seems weird, right? Weird methodology. Angus Reid, back to this. These include the AR-15 that was used in the Nova Scotia shooting. I just want to address that right now. Here we go. Here's Global News reporting on May 2nd. Today's May 3rd. I think I've noted that, but I'm not sure. 2 long guns used by Nova Scotia shooter covered by assault-style firearms ban, Blair says. Canada's public safety minister said 2 long guns used in the Nova Scotia mass shooting are included in the list of more than 1,500 military-style assault weapons now banned in Canada. Public safety minister Bill Blair told reporters Friday the firearms used by the gunman who killed 22 people are covered by the ban, but did not specify the models. He said it's the responsibility of the RCMP to release that information. Every firearm begins legally and then moves into an illegal market, Blair said. I don't know, but that seems like a strange quote. Back to this. Nova Scotia RCMP have said the gunman used several semi-automatic pistols and 2 semi-automatic rifles, but declined to offer further details about the weapons, citing the ongoing investigation. RCMP Superintendent Darren Campbell told reporters Tuesday that one of the weapons, quote, could be described as a military-style assault rifle. Quote, what I can say is that there was what could be considered a weapon that could be described that way, Campbell said, according to further ballistics testing that was being conducted. To me, that says, I can't say anything. I'm not allowed to say anything. That says nothing. That doesn't confirm anything. And least of all, does it confirm an AR-15 was used. So how do these guys know? Right? Isn't that weird? The RCMP did not respond to questions Saturday about whether there were plans to release more information about the firearms and how they were obtained. Saturday's yesterday, today is Sunday. How does Angus Reid know on the 2nd? Right? The 2nd was yesterday. How does Angus Reid know? I'd really like to know, Angus Reid. Right? It was used in the Nova Scotia shooting? Really? Did you talk to Minister Blair? Did you talk to the Nova Scotia shooter themselves? Do you have information that you need to offer the RCMP? Or are you just pushing a narrative? Right? Are you using this tragedy to push the acceptance of this gun ban? I don't know. Seems weird when the RCMP refused to release it. Huh. Weird, right? Here's another kind of disgusting thing. Catherine Mckenna would have been 18 years old at this point in time, and she's tweeting, I remember December 6, 1989, when 14 women were gunned down at École Polytechnique. Assault weapons are designed to kill as many people as quickly as possible. We don't just need hopes and prayers, we need them off our streets. So I just want to show you here's the Canadian Firearms blog. Magazine capacities. Some magazines in Canada are subject to regulation under the Firearms Act. Specifically, their capacities are limited depending on the type of firearm that magazine is designed and intended to be used. In general, the rule of thumb is semi-automatic centerfire rifles and shotgun magazines are limited to 5 cartridges. Handguns are limited to 10. So they banned a lot of semi-automatics, and they're implying that these are set up to kill 10 people, but the magazine limitations are largely 5 cartridges, 5 bullets. They're using something that happened 31 years ago to push a gun reclassification in 2020. It doesn't make any sense, especially because over that 31 years, there haven't been a whole lot of other mass shootings that they can, in Canada, that they can point to, right? They can point to the New Zealand Christchurch thing, and they do use that often. But there are other things that kill way more people, and they're not doing anything about. So it seems really interesting. There's so many. Why focus on this when this is clearly not a problem, and there are other problems? And well, Doug Ford is the Premier of Ontario. Yesterday, I highlighted that Jason Kenney was not happy with the federal gun ban, and he said as much in his release. And here's Doug Ford's release that is mimicking my frustration with this whole thing. Like, they're not trying to solve problems. They're using old shootings and other situations, even this Nova Scotia shooting, right? This is being cited here, but the Nova Scotia shooting did not have legal guns, right? Like, it wasn't like this guy was a legal gun owner and, oh man, like, bam, we got it dead to rights right here. It's like a clear case of this guy had legal guns and he used them in a nefarious way. That wasn't even it. This gun ban wouldn't have stopped that gun crime. So, like, using this or citing this is just trying to incite more fear. It's just weird. And then this too, like, weird, right? And offensive. I don't like it, not at all. Here's Doug Ford on this. CBC News is reporting, and again, this is May 2nd, yesterday at 4:34 p.m. Doug Ford takes aim at Trudeau government's gun control measures. Ontario Premier Doug Ford is taking aim at the federal government's new gun control measures, saying he believes the feds should focus on smuggling of illegal weapons at the border and strengthening jail sentences for gun crimes rather than targeting legal gun owners. On Friday, the Trudeau government outlawed a wide range of assault-style rifles, saying the guns were designed for the battlefield, not for hunting or sport shooting. Prime Minister, the battlefield where you have to reload every 5 shots. So dumb, just stupid. Back to this. Not sport hunting or sport shooting. Prime Minister Justin Trudeau has also promised a buyback program for all legally purchased rifles that would fall under the new ban, with owners offered fair market prices for their guns, a program expected to cost up to $600 million. Ford was animated when talking about the new measures Saturday during his daily COVID-19 news conference. Here he is. I'm going to show you just a brief clip of this. Here we go.
The only way to truly tackle gun violence is to crack down on the illegal guns being smuggled in daily at our borders. Put money at our borders. Our great, people that serve the border security, Canadian border security, they're incredible. Give them the money, and greatly increase the legal ramifications for these convicted gun crimes. I've said this over and over again that, these people, they get charged, and what's frustrating to police officers, they're back on the streets in a few days. Or if they get sentenced with a gun crime for a year or two. The problem is not the legal gun owners. We need to target the smugglers, and we need to throw the book at these gangsters out there terrorizing our streets.
And that's not all of his statement, but that's a lot of the meat of it. And I agree. And it's insane that the federal government is using all of these historic gun crimes and ignoring the daily shootings in Toronto because none of them back up their narrative. None of them are using legal guns. They're all using illegal guns that are coming across the border, and acknowledging them would be acknowledging that they need to do something about that. And they're not going to. We're well past that. Here's back to the article. Ford's comments mark a departure from the approach the Ontario Premier has taken with the federal Liberals since the pandemic began, infecting Canadians and wreaking havoc in Ontario's long-term care centres. He did question the federal government's plan to spend hundreds of millions of dollars of hardworking taxpayer money for what he questioned. You think gun violence is going to go down in Toronto? I don't believe gun violence is going to go down in Toronto based on taking guns off legal gun owners. So there's Doug Ford getting in on Jason Kenney and a whole bunch of other people's criticism of the Trudeau government movement. And to top off all of this gun ban, well, it's like you couldn't write fiction that was more predictable. Here's a tweet that says, man with large knife stabs 3 seniors who don't know the man or know each other. Includes 2 car crashes. Police arrive and find man hiding behind shed. Police were forced to shoot the man and arrest him. Urban terrorism? And no names. The Nova Scotia situation rolled out very quickly. This was from yesterday, and I haven't found an update with a name yet. Anyway, it doesn't matter. But we knew who the Nova Scotia shooter was very quickly, didn't we? Global News is reporting 3 stabbing victims seriously injured in Mississauga, suspect arrested. Yeah, so just go through this. Basically, he was arrested by a shed after stabbing 3 people, and the 3 people are in the hospital in critical or life-threatening condition. Not great. Moving on to leadership races. This I thought was kind of funny and really strange. Globe and Mail is reporting Peter MacKay issues libel notice over the post-millennial article on polling. Writing an article on polling. Like, oh, that's libelous. It's false. Conservative leadership hopeful Peter MacKay is calling for an apology through a lawyer over information in an article in the Post-Millennial, a digital news website on the party's leadership race. Mr. MacKay has retained legal counsel to say an April 27th report titled Leaked Polling Report Shows MacKay's Support Plummeting, O'Toole Takes the Lead, is defamatory and provides an entirely false and misleading impression to any reader. The Post-Millennial said Friday that the article was fair and that the website would not apologize for it. This is not what you try to deal libel in. It seems kind of funny. Like, you can't, if somebody's, and I haven't looked at the Post-Millennial's article, but I just thought it was very funny that this is getting headlines for Peter MacKay's. Like, the headline here is not the Post-Millennial reported correctly or incorrectly. That doesn't really matter. The headline here is that Peter MacKay is using lawyers to pressure like media and news sites. And that's really, really, really strange. Like, I don't know. And I mean, how secure is he in his position if when you read a report that your polling looks like it's imploding, you respond with a lawyer rather than saying, oh yeah, rather than sending your Twitter followers to say, hi to the Post-Millennial, or, there are things you can do to prove how popular you are. And if polling is proof of popularity, well, I mean, there are things MacKay could have done that would have been much more impactful than this, right? This makes him look weak, is the short version. And here's another leadership hopeful, right? Elizabeth May is no longer the leader of the Conservative Party. No, she's not leader of the Conservative Party. At this point, why not though, right? Roll the dice, hey? The Green Party. So the Greens are having a leadership race, and CBC is reporting Green leadership candidate Glenn Murray criticized over comments on discrimination. The left will just eat their own. They just continually will eat their own. And here's a perfect example of that, right? You want to be leader of the Greens? You're not woke enough, sir. Recent comments by Green Party leadership candidate Glenn Murray about discrimination in Canada are being called offensive, misinformed, and dangerous. Murray, a former Winnipeg mayor and Ontario Liberal cabinet minister, is called out for comments he made to a newspaper that his opponents are calling discriminatory and privileged. Murray said he's being quoted out of context. I don't think age or race or skin color should matter, frankly. I think we're past sexism, ageism, and racism, Murray was quoted telling the Winnipeg Free Press after announcing his candidacy on Wednesday. Fellow leadership contender Amita Kuttner seized on Murray's comments, saying they go against the Green Party's culture of diversity. Quote, I was really surprised, Kuttner told CBC. I really don't expect to hear someone say that nowadays. Kuttner is a non-binary mixed-race person who identifies with the pronouns they, them. Kuttner expressed surprise at Murray's comments because he is a gay man who has been out for many years. Kuttner and Murray's statements suggest that sexism, ageism, and racism no longer exist in Canadian politics. Murray, 62, told CBC News that he was responding to a question about his age and whether it would be an issue in the campaign against the slate of younger candidates. Murray said that he had been a victim of discrimination and, as a Toronto MPP, he defended new Canadians from systemic discrimination. How can I possibly suggest, given my life experience, that we don't live in a world with systemic racism, Murray said. Murray added that he was trying to say that skin color, gender, and age should not disqualify him or anyone else from running for office, and he was not implying that these things are no longer issues. This is kowtowing to the Church of Woke, and our entire political spectrum is doing this now. It's insane. It is absolutely insane. This guy is long in the tooth with regard to experience. He was a mayor, former MPP. The Greens, I mean, as far as political acumen go, probably would be very lucky to have him. But look at what's happening. People who think that they know better because they're more woke are saying, oh no, sir, you don't understand things now. Welcome to 2020, right? And it's crazy. And the news giving the slant that much airplay gives it credence, gives it credibility. This is shifting politics more than, well, demographics too, but this whole woke culture is not helpful. And it doesn't stand for the downtrodden by any stretch of the imagination, no matter how much you think it does. It doesn't. Look at the behavior of these people, right? And yeah, I'll use these people. Look at the behavior, right? They're not interested in making things better for everyone. They're interested in shaming everyone so that everybody feels as bad as they feel. I'm not sure, but it's very, very, very dangerous, especially played at these levels, right? Especially elevated to the levels of Justin Trudeau and across the Liberal cabinet as well, because you end up with situations like where is it? This Mckenna, right? Like, this isn't the boxing the boxing punching bag thing from yesterday. This is more scary and more dangerous, right? That one was just buying into the narrative of the stay home and blah, 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 all that stuff. That's repetitive. That's indoctrinating you into the new normal, right? This is a tactic, and it's being executed very well. But so is this. That's what I'm saying. It's the same. It's pushing it's closing the Overton window. And what do they do with people like Bernier and people like Sloan who want to talk about politics in a way that is traditional in traditional in Canadian politics, in that these are the problems and these are identifiable solutions? That's not what people are interested in. They're interested in getting their victim mentality out and laying it on the table and measuring it, right? How big's your victim mentality? Oh, well, unzip, right? Get mine out too. That's what they're doing. And it's offensive. It's changed our politics fundamentally. Sorry, that was a bit of a rant, but man, like, it's happening right in front of us. This is the Globe and Mail, or this is CBC. This one's the Globe and Mail. But still, pushing that Overton window, pushing, and never giving up, and offering credibility where credibility should not be offered, right? Like, honestly. Last story for this morning. Oh, 21 minutes. Really, me? Anyway, CBC is reporting New Brunswick reports no remaining active cases of COVID-19 for 2 weeks. 2 weeks. New Brunswick is COVID-19 free according to the latest numbers from the province. Sunday marked the 14th straight day of no new cases in the province. Achieving this 2-week milestone is significant. Dr. Jennifer Russell, the province's chief medical officer, said in a press release on Saturday, "But I cannot emphasize enough how important it is for us to continue practicing physical distancing, wearing face masks, and staying home as much as possible." It's what? There's no cases, and we haven't had any cases for 2 weeks. Stay home for another month. Who needs to work? You don't need to work. It's weird, but good for them. And they were the first to use hydroxychloroquine. I still mess it up. Isn't it interesting? I think it's interesting. I think that there's certainly a path to normalcy. I hope we get there soon. I was looking around yesterday, and there's more and more people out. I don't think that in the face of all of this, in the face of empty hospitals, in the face of provinces opening up, I don't think they're going to be able to keep things as locked up as they have. That's the short of it. So I think things are going to be opening up. Very interesting stuff. Anyway, thanks for watching, everybody. Check out canadapoly.com. Check out canadareport.co. Check out Speaking Moistly if you want a more casual chat. And have a wonderful day. Oh, where's my mouse? Oh, there it is.